is actually doing their video Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's honestly not. Yeah. No, that was me. That was me. I didn't have any of those.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I saw it. I came in last week too.
we're going to start the Colorado press conference. If you could raise your hands, we'll bring the mic holders over to you, and please direct your question to Coach. Welcome to today's press conference. We're going to start out with Defensive Coordinator Robert Livingston. Coach, do you want to make an opening statement?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, obviously, for being here today. The Alamo Bowl itself for having us. City of San Antonio has been great. We've been here 3 days. It's a phenomenal place to come. I have 4 young children with me, so God knows we've seen the sights and sounds of San Antonio, and just very grateful to be here and excited for the game. So with that, any questions? One more thing, I'm sorry. Our football operations staff has done a phenomenal job. So Reg Calhoun, Tysha Stewart, Miss Ty, TA, all those guys, they make the whole thing go. So we just show up for lunch, and God knows how much work has been put into it and getting to UTSA and all that stuff. So really a special shout out to those guys. They make everything roll easy. So with that, any questions?
Go front on the end, please.
Hi, Coach. Good to see you.
Hey.
You had spent so much time in the NFL before taking this job. What has the pageantry around Bowl Week been like for you to experience with your family?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I was fortunate enough. We were in the Liberty Bowl when I was at Vanderbilt, so no airplane. The drive from Nashville to Memphis was pretty easy. But it's been a great week. Again, that's the special part about being back in college is the family environment. And so to have my kids around with the bowl practices being when the kids are out of school, they get to show up and go to practice. And that's really why you do this, right? You invest so much into these young men on the team to show them role models that you're around every day, and the cams and people like that. It's a special thing. So it's been a great journey. It's been a great trip for us, and just excited for Saturday.
Front two.
Hey,
Hey,
good to
what's
see
up,
you.
man? You
Good to
too.
see you. When you came in, you clearly wanted to mold your scheme around what you had in place, and now kind of reflecting back on it, did you check every box that you wanted to as far as how you guys played this year and the improvements that you made throughout the season, and maybe what is left to come moving forward?
Yeah, I think the unfortunate part of this profession is you're never finished. So there's always, I wish I would have done this or that moment. It's been a great ride. It's a testament to the players, to the staff. They make my life really easy. We talk about it all the time. Next year's version probably won't look like this because we'll have new players. The right, wrong, or indifferent. This is 2024 college football. People are going to come. People are going to go. So you got to have the ability to adapt. So I think that's a huge part of what we'll do is look at the guys we have, look at how we did it this year, and a lot of it will be the same, but there'll be some changes as well.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
You got some new guys in at practice with the early enrollees. I'm curious how those guys have looked to you and if anyone specifically has stood out.
Oh, it's still too early. It's a huge head start for them. It's a great way to kind of get to know them and be around them. I think, people always maybe act a little bit different on an official visit, players and coaches alike. So to see what they like, when they're tired, when they're working, both in Boulder as well as here. Really excited, for the 6 practices they get that are extra going into spring ball. Those are invaluable. So it's a great start for them, and they get to be a part of this as well. I think that's a special thing. I think too often we forget, these are 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids. This could be, the last time they go to a bowl game, heaven forbid. So to go through this, and obviously the way they do it here is phenomenal. It's top shelf. So to be a part of this is really special.
What about those practices are so invaluable for those guys to have that 6 practice head start?
Well, I think the best way to think about it is you go from playing in the state championship game, and then 4 days later you're going versus Travis and Shador. So that's probably a little bit different in itself. You recruit kids that you hope will come in and play right away, and then they get thrown in the fire with guys that have been doing it for 3 or 4 years and in the system for this year alone. So it's a way to see them, kind of how do they learn? How do they retain knowledge? Can they make adjustments? How do they adapt when they fail? How do they adapt when they have success? So those are all things that hopefully you have a feel for, and then once the spring ball rolls out, you'll know exactly where you stand.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, what's up, man?
He was mentioning your NFL experience, Adam was, but clearly a very different experience postseason here as opposed to postseason in the NFL, where you go right from regular season. How have you dealt with the disjointed nature of you take some time off, and there's guys in and out, and how do you feel like the team has handled it?
Yeah, I thought Coach Prime laid out a great schedule. The players kind of got to get away for a little bit. It gave us as a staff the first 2 days. Defensively, we just kind of did some self-scout stuff. What have we done well? What is BYU going to see when they see us? And then welcome to transfer portal 2024, right? So you find yourself watching a lot of kids. right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the world we live in. So that's been key, and it's also selfishly, it's a great way to kind of see what other teams are doing. Everybody has people they respect in this profession. In college, if the off season for me starts with what Notre Dame does defensively, because I think the world of Al Golden. So it's a great way to kind of get a head start on some of that stuff. Hey, what are the schemes that maybe we can implement next year? So it's been fun. With that being said, you get to be home every night. You get to be a husband. You get to be a dad. You get to see your kids. Gymnastics lessons and things like that. The real world stuff. So we did that for 2 weeks, and then we got back to it. So it's been a great process. Again, it's a testament to Coach Prime, kind of the schedule that he laid out. So the guys are fresh once it comes to game day.
Coach, we had BYU in here just before you guys.
Okay.
And they shared their excitement to not only face you guys, but also the firepower that you have. When thinking about what you've seen from them so far on tape and what they've been able to do this season, what are you most looking forward to going up against BYU?
Yeah, I think the best compliment you can give them is, you feel them every time they play. There's a real attitude with how they play. They play connected football. Obviously, they run the heck out of it. They do a great job. They're physical on all levels. The quarterback's a great athlete. And, I know talking to their head coach, it seems like we've had like 6 crossover games. So I feel like I've watched them, play a lot. And they play hard. God knows they play hard. So it'll be a great challenge. Again, it's a phenomenal venue, Saturday night. Where else would you rather be?
Clearly, with your NFL experience, you have a lot of great connections, and you're going to have a crop of guys here going to the NFL who are maybe projected as mid, late, maybe undrafted guys, tweeners. Coach Prime talks about how guiding players to the NFL is one of the bedrocks of, one of the parts of the bedrock of this program. How involved do you intend to be on behalf of some of those guys, maybe getting in touch with coaches, scouts, et cetera, things like that?
Yeah, I'll vouch for those guys to anybody. Again, they just, gave us 6 months of the hardest thing they can do. And they put us in this position. We're here because of the players we have. And, I'm pulling for them. I'll pick up the phone and call anybody because they've answered the bell for us. So I think, obviously, the more guys that have success, the more guys want to come. That's the selfish part about college football, let's be honest with each other. If you get 4 guys drafted, then more players are going to come play for you. That's just the way it goes. So, no, we've got some phenomenal young men that I think have bright, bright futures on the next level.
What are the keys for guys like Vontae and Shane and Shiloh and Cam and players of that ilk to make an impression and to capitalize on these next couple of months, being a coach that has seen that and what you were looking for? What it's important for those guys to handle this time of year?
Yeah, I think it starts, at least myself personally, when you're going to scout a player for the draft, the first thing you do is you watch their last game because that's the last exposure you have. And then from there you go to an all-star game, watch the one-on-ones, do all that stuff, and then you get into the season. So as I've told those guys, they still got everything out in front of them. You go out there, if you're Shiloh or if you're Cam and you have a couple interceptions and a bunch of tackles, then you got somebody's interest, and it goes from there. And then once they get their foot in the door, it's all about what you do with your opportunity. If you're playing 5 plays in the third preseason game, or if you're the PP or if you're the L1 and you make a play, you're going to get noticed. That's the next phase of this journey is what do I do with my opportunities? And if you're undrafted, you probably don't get as many as the first round pick. That's just what it is, right? So just make the most of what you can and go from there.
Hey, Rob, I remember you said a couple weeks ago in Boulder when we talked to you about part of the appeal of this job was building something from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And obviously today you mentioned, there's going to be different personnel next year on the defensive side. What's kind of the balance for you as a coordinator in trying to set the standard of what you expect out of your defense while also trying to reinvent yourself based off of your personnel and the guys you have year in and year out?
Yeah, to me, stats are cute and people talk about them a lot, but at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is points, right? So yards don't equal points for us. If we can play great situationally, so that's third down, that's red zone, and we keep the points low, then that's what we want to do. In terms of, the standard, you want to be able to feel us. That's what we've always talked about. I think we've all watched a game where the defense is flying around and you find yourself almost cringing when somebody cuts back. That's who we want to be. We want to be the hardest playing team that you can. And then, you're going to have 5 or 6 players that can impact the game. So how do you get those guys shots? Steph Curry's going to take a 3 every 4 or 5 times down the floor. It's just what it is, right? So if you got a great pass rusher, let's let them rush, right? If you got a great cover player, let's let them cover. And if they get hot, keep feeding them. I think we can make this game harder than it has to be. But it starts with the people and it starts with the personnel.
Let's go 2 more questions, one in the middle.
Hey, Coach, Merry Christmas to you and the fam.
Thanks, man. You too.
I appreciate it. you mentioned that obviously there will be new players obviously on the defense next season, and that secondary in particular, it'll look a lot different. Obviously, Travis, Cam, Shiloh, and others. How confident are you kind of in the potential of some of the young guys in that secondary, Colton, Carter, DJ, and obviously some of those other guys?
Yeah, I'm super excited just to see their growth from the beginning of the year this year to where they're at now, and knowing where they can go. I know I've said it before. I think Kevin Mathis is as great a teacher as anybody I've ever been around. So I have no problem that the corners, they're going to flourish. They're going to do well. If somebody doesn't mess up the safeties, then they'll do well too. So no, it's exciting. Anytime you have young players that have been a part of it, that know what it's supposed to look like, they know how Travis works. We've talked about it before. Anytime your best player is your hardest worker, that equals culture, right? So they've just seen that for a year, and then now they saw him walk away with the Heisman Trophy. So if you need to be pushed, then you probably haven't been paying attention, right? So now it's your job. We're in the relay race, and the baton has been passed to you, bud, and it's going to be what you do from there. So it'll be an exciting spring. I'm sure we'll add some more people, and I think competition obviously brings the best out of everybody. So it'll be fun.
Is your final question? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach Shurmur?
Good afternoon. I'd like to echo a lot of the same sentiments that Rob touched on. The Bowl Committee, Valero, Alamo Bowl Committee has been very warm, and we've really enjoyed ourselves here. Great events. The setup for us to practice it at UTSA has been awesome. And then our people, there's a lot of organization that goes into spending a week away. Reggie, Ty, and Tyler and that group did a wonderful job. So when we show up, we get on the bus and do our business and then get back on the bus and come back. Everything's been organized. The food's been great. People have been warm and friendly. And so our preparation week for the bowl game has been terrific. So as we approach game day, obviously we're finalizing our preparation as coaches and players, but we're getting ready to play an outstanding football team. I think we had an event the other night, and I think we as coaches really have an appreciation for the other team, because it was said a bunch of times how the two teams playing try to do things the right way, and that's what you see when you watch them on tape. I'll take your questions.
Hey, Coach. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. When your contacts from the NFL call you and ask you about Shedeur Sanders, what will you tell them?
Well, I've already told all 32 teams multiple times probably what I would tell you, but most players that make it in the NFL obviously have great skill and ability, which Shedeur have performed at a high level, which he does, has a true love for the game, which he has, and then is going to be an outstanding teammate. And really those are the four cornerstones of what makes a great pro. You got to have talent. You got to perform. You got to love the game, and that's where a lot of times, guys fall short. They don't love the game. And then you got to it's the greatest team sport in the world, so you have to have an appreciation for being a good teammate, whether you're a leader, a follower, or whatever. And so I've been able to just talk about, I don't think we realize how good Shedeur is, and we won't until he's gone. And I just am really, really looking forward to him finishing this thing out the right way, and then watching him play at the next level and just really killing it. I think it's going to be fun for me.
Questions, middle, front, then middle.
Presumably, whoever takes Shedeur would also, in theory, have a chance to maybe make some moves and acquire a second or a third pick and target Travis. I know it sounds maybe like a little bit of fantasy football, but with the connection that they have and your experience being in the NFL, is that something that should be investigated based upon just the dynamic and the relationship that these two have?
If they could pull that off, good for them. All right, yeah, that's GM wizardry if you could pull that off. No, I have a huge respect for both players. I've told all the pro scouts, if you need a quarterback, take Shedeur, and if you don't take him, you're taking the second best guy, in my opinion. And if you don't need a quarterback, and there's some teams that don't need a quarterback, you should take Travis. To me, it's a very simple discussion. When I think of these two players, these are guys that have helped change the course of history for Colorado, Buffalo football, along with Coach Prime. And I just have a huge respect for them, and I think they're going to just absolutely dominate the next level.
How rare is their chemistry for a wide receiver quarterback combo? Because from my perspective, I haven't seen two guys in college that have had that much say in an offense, or at least be listened to by somebody of your stature with your experience. What has it been like working with those two guys and their relationship?
Yeah, it's been awesome because we go in thinking it's going to look one way, and then the defenses always play us a little bit differently because of our skill and ability. And so when we get out there, we get a little feel for what's going on, and then there's a lot of conversation that goes on between Shurmur and Travis. How's he playing you? Let's throw this type of route. And so it's a little free flow, which has been just truly, inspiring for me to be able to do that. And it's going to be, it's going to be different next year. We're going to have to climb this mountain a little different way because these guys have been just, and their chemistry, I guess your question was regard to chemistry. When a receiver and a wide receiver connect, there's a lot of time and effort that's gone into getting that right, and they're able to do it on Saturday, and that's what makes them great.
Hey, Coach, Merry Christmas to you and the fam. Speaking of Shurmur, obviously with Juju kind of on campus or here, taking part of practices, how valuable and impactful is it for him to kind of be in the same meeting room with Shurmur and, take in practice, with Shurmur and just be around him for this time period?
Yeah, I think it's very meaningful. I mean, Juju's got a bright future. He was just playing in a high school championship game here a few days ago. But to be around, quarterbacks are always looking for perspective. They're always trying to learn from other quarterbacks, how you think about things, how you see this. And so anytime Juju can spend with Shurmur is time well spent. And I kind of like this. Rob talked about the defensive players, but this is kind of like an orientation. And I love this bowl prep. We've had a bunch of practices, and for some of the young men that won't be here, this is the end of their season. But and I've been grinding on them now, that for the guys that are going to be here next year, in my opinion, it's the beginning of their next season. And so for Shurmur, as he's going out, any wisdom he can impart on Juju and also Caden is important, and they should listen because he's a terrific player.
Coach, when speaking about facing a talented team in BYU,
correct.
When looking at the film you've seen this past week, what is it that stands out to say, okay, we need to be ready for that, or that excites us, we're excited about facing that matchup?
Yeah, I think when you look at, and again, this is my first real role going through the roll call of teams that we're playing and watching them play on defense. And I've watched BYU play quite a bit. We've had a lot of crossover time watching them on tape, but they play defense the right way. They first starts, they're very physical up front, which you have to be in this game. Doesn't matter what level you're playing, high school, college, or pro. Very physical up front, very fundamental in the back, and they have answers. So they might bring them all, they may drop them all out, and then they do everything in between. So we got to be sharp with how we run it and how we throw it. And when we're, in a position to make plays, we got to make them. So we can't have any misfires. We got to block our guys. We have to be physical to try to match how physical they are. And we got to play good football. I mean, it comes down to that every week. But this is an opponent that I got a great deal of respect for. I know not a lot, but some of their coaches. I've coached BYU players in the past. Chad Lewis was my tight end at the Philadelphia Eagles. So I look forward to seeing him on game day. So these guys love the game. They love who they are, what they believe in, and it's going to be a great test.
Pat, just curious if getting a chance to work alongside Rob this season, just kind of what you've learned from him, what's kind of impressed him about you, and if there was ever somebody that kind of mentioned him to you from your NFL circles about what you might get to expect from working with him, and like I said, just kind of what it's been
Yeah.
like working alongside him.
No, it's been awesome because we've got a lot of the same experience. You know, we're tied to Mike Zimmer. You know, we're all tied together in a lot of ways. You know, I work for Mike, obviously, at the Vikings. And hopefully he'll look better than I do, but I'm you know, kind of Rob 20 years down the road, you know. And so, you know, we've had fun conversations about that. And, you know, our perspective on things, it's different, right? When you're in the NFL, it's different. So when we come back to college, it's different. But some of the things that we learned about directing a staff, working with players, taking advantage of matchups, you know, we talk about that quite a bit in the NFL. Those are all things that you learn. But then on the flip side, as NFL guys, you've seen a lot of NFL guys go to college for a stretch and then go back to the NFL and have great success, like Todd Monken, right? Cliff Kingsbury, right? Liam Cohen. So there's this great interaction of things that helps us in some ways gain perspective and keep moving in this profession. And but you know, this guy's going to be a head coach, if not this year, the next. And so to be one of his coworkers and his friend, it's been good. It's been a great year.
Hey, Coach. The last time we talked to you was the day before Caden Salter announced he was coming here, so you haven't had a chance to talk to you about him. But what's your impressions of him and just that quarterback battle with, you know, Juju and him, and, you know, obviously right now Ryan Staub is here as well.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. As we mentioned, when you lose somebody like Shurmur, you need about 4 or 5 guys to replace him, you know. But we're really thrilled. You know, obviously Juju has a bright future, and he's going to be battling his butt off to be our guy next year. We brought in Caden Salter, who is an experienced young man, got 1 year left. Really excited for him. You know, he's roughly a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher, and he's played a lot of really, really good football. And so he's on campus as well. He was out there today doing his thing. And so getting him oriented, right? We're going to play this game. We're going to get back to work. And then as the offseason starts, you know, we feel really good about that. And then, you know, Ryan Staub has done a wonderful job. I think his one exposure was last year against Utah where, you know, he did a great job. You know, that was one of those games where we just didn't have enough time. Right? Had we gotten back on the field, might have had a chance to win it, but certainly Ryan played well, and he's done that through practice this year as well.
Back.
Yeah, Coach, you touched on this a little bit, but about this BYU defense, one thing that really stands out is their secondary and kind of their ball hawkingness, I guess. I don't know if that's a word, but we'll call it one.
We'll work with that.
Yeah, what's sort of your perspective of those guys on the back end of their D?
Yeah, they do a good job. I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of a defense is getting turnovers, right? And so as a quarterback, you got to put the ball in the right spot. You know, typically if, you know, they're tip balls or overthrows, then the guys in the back end, especially on the inside, the safeties have a chance to pick balls off. So we got to throw the ball accurately and catch it when it's thrown to us. I think that goes without saying. And then on the outside, the corners do a good job in, you know, one-on-one situations of getting ball production. So that's one of the hallmarks of a good defense is getting the ball turned over. We're going to do everything in our power when we take the field to score points. And as Rob talked about on the flip side, the job of the defense is to make sure that doesn't happen. And one of the key ways to do it is to get the ball turned over. And they do a good job of that.
Final questions for Coach?
One of the guys that's going to be playing in his last college game is Jimmy Horn, and because of injuries, he hasn't maybe had the season that he was hoping to. It seems like guys have kind of put their arm around him. How have you seen him respond to maybe not having the season he has? And I know you can't force things as a coordinator, but is that a guy you'd like to get involved on Saturday?
Yeah, we love to get Jimmy involved, and when he was out there this year, we tried to, right? You know, we fortunately have a lot of different targets, and, you know, Jimmy can make an impact. You know, the thing about Jimmy is he's fast, you know, and we've seen it. I mean, first series of the game against North Dakota State, right? I mean, so if he catches the ball in the back end, he can score touchdowns, you know, and I think that's the beauty of him. And then as you get to know Jimmy, he's got a wonderful spirit. I mean, you got to love Jimmy Horn, and you just root for him to have success. And so It'd be a smart thing for us, but we'll try to get him the ball this week or this Saturday, and if he does what he can do with the ball, that'll be good for us, And so we'd like to send him out the right way. He's had these little nagging injury things that kind of kept him kind of out of the the smooth flow of things for us. So he's back healthy now, and hopefully we can get him going.
Pat, sticking in the wide receiver room, Will Shepard told us a couple weeks ago that LeJohntay has been a real leader in that room throughout the season. Just curious from your perspective, kind of how LeJohntay has impacted the rest of the wide receiver room, and just kind of how much you're looking forward to seeing him try to carve a role for himself in the NFL going forward.
Yeah, I think he's a pro. And guys ask me about it. There's a bunch of guys that I talk about as being pros, and we got 4 receivers, and we have a quarterback that comes to mind, right? And I think LeJohntay is one of those guys. The thing he does, and this could be a public service announcement for him, but he returns kicks. So I'm thinking about when you pick a guy and you're building a roster, he's a kick returner, right? He took 1 yard this year. He plays in the slot. He does the dirty work and he blocks. It's for the slot corner and the slot receiver. There's a lot more going on when you play in the slot. You're closer to the big guys. There's combinations of things that can happen. There's obviously less going on for the outside corner as well as the outside receiver. So on the inside, you got to block, which they do. He does a great job of. He makes tough catches. He shows up in critical times in the game, and he's a tough, spirited guy that, I think we forget that. I think in his former school, he was a walk-on, right, that earned a scholarship. So I got a warm place in my heart for those kind of guys, and he's been productive. So just go back to what you're looking for in a pro, right? A guy that has the skill and ability, check, right? A guy that's produced, check, right? A guy that loves the game, check. And then a guy who understands the importance of being a good teammate, check. So in my mind, he's checked all the boxes. And just like the top 2 guys we're talking about, anybody that chooses to draft Tay wherever they do, they're getting a baller.
All right, one final question.
Hey, Coach, welcome to the Alamo Bowl. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
This is your second year as coordinator with the bus.
First full, but yeah.
First full?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that compare to your stay with Denver and your relationship? You mentioned chemistry between Travis and Shurmur. What's that chemistry like between yourself and Shurmur, and when did you think you kind of hit your groove there with him? Yeah,
so there's so many similarities to coordinating in the NFL, and we can get to that. It's probably for another time. But with my relationship with Shurmur, it started last year. I was walking my daughter down the aisle a couple Julys ago, and Coach Prime called me and said, I'd like you to come out as an analyst and put some pro eyes on Shurmur and help him and whatnot. And then as time went on, my role changed quite a bit. So early on, we developed a really good relationship, and I think that's the key part of this business that people don't spend enough time on, right? You just can't start teaching these guys plays. You got to get to know them. They got to know you believe in them, and I think that's what Rob does a great job with his staff and his players. And so that started for me a couple years ago, and then when I was put in control of the offense, it just happened faster, right? I believe in the young man. I listen to him. Even though I'm almost 60, I'm a grandfather now, 3 times. So I had December 2nd, December 8th, and December 12th. My 3 oldest children have babies. So I'm going to get the first flight out of here on Sunday to go meet 2 of them. I can't wait for that. But no, that relationship, right? So whether you're a grandfather or a coach of working with young people, that's where it starts. So then when we start talking about plays, it's easy, right? Like we had a play today, we were running in practice that I see very clearly. Well, for whatever reason, it's a really good play. Shurmur just doesn't quite see it the way I see it. So we're going to move on to something else. We got a lot of other plays, right? If he doesn't see it the way I see it and we can't get a completion and make it happen, we'll move on, And so I think that's one little example of how the relationship works. But this is a relationship business. And when coaches lose sight of that, which is easy to happen at times because of the grind of it and the scrutiny of it, when you lose sight of that, then I think you lose sight of the big picture, and it's not good.
Thank you, coaches. We'll bring the players in a couple seconds.
Good? All right.
Appreciate it, coach.
In Buffalo. So Billy, Mary Williams. Then the second one was my daughter Allison, Eleanor Claire. And then my third one was my other daughter, Erica Carter Patrick. So 3 in like 10 days. So. Thank you.
I got like 3 or 4 bottles.
We got a couple bottles of wine too.
How y'all doing?
All right, if we're ready for questions for the Colorado players, please raise your hand and direct it at one player at a time, please, so we can properly transcribe it. Who wants to start? Middle, go ahead.
Just for LeJohntay, obviously you getting a chance to get the number 1 now and get to wear it in your final game here as a Buff. I mean, just kind of what does that mean to you, and kind of what was that process like of trying to get the number kind of all season?
It mean a lot first. First and foremost, it's a blessing to be able to, get the number that you wanted. The process, it was a tough process. I had to get my grades up, but I completed it. I got it done, and I'm excited for the game on Saturday.
Front, middle.
This question is for Shurmur. Pat Shurmur was just in here talking about the relationship with you, and I know you've had a number of different coordinators during your college career, but can you talk about what you've maybe gleaned from all of them, but also specifically with Pat and like why he's been such a good coordinator for you?
Yeah, so each year, I would say more and more been put on my plate. The more experience I got, the more years and tasks on hand, the more ball I play. So at this point, it's kind of he brought a different perspective from the league perspective coming into college, and being able to adjust and help me see things in a different perspective, in a different way. So we could all look at the defense on the board, but we all could have different point of views. So it's kind of, that's why I'm thankful to be in the situation I'm in and have all the different offensive coordinators, and ending with him is because he's been, at the biggest level, the highest level you could get. And I was able to learn a lot from each and every one of those coordinators to where it all built me into the player I am today.
This one could be for Shurmur and Jimmy as well. Speaking with BYU earlier, they talked about how excited they are to get to play against such a talented roster, and your coaches came in and talked about the strong defensive front that they have. What are you most looking forward to when it goes to going up against BYU?
For me, it's problem solving. That's what it is. We know they're going to do a lot of exotic things and a lot of different things that we probably haven't seen on film. But we just got to always just stick to the basics and do what we do best. And they're a talented team, and they listen to their coaches, and they do everything 98% right. It's defense, so defense is eventually somebody's gonna bust a coverage, but that's just what it is. But watching film on them, watching it is just it's hard, very hard to find a tail, and very hard to find a flaw when it comes to them, because the way they go about their business, the way they get in their stunts, the way they're able to move and react different ways, and you don't know who's doing what, you know. So they got a great scheme, they got a great everything, and I'm very blessed for my final collegiate game to go against that type of challenge.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Shador, really we going like what we looking forward to, basically. Like he's really said everything. Like they're a real good disciplined team, and we just gotta go out there and execute our game plan and play smart.
Question for Shador, obviously. Everyone knows you and your dad's tradition before the game, just kind of walking to the end zone and walking back. I know Shiloh's joined you a couple times this season during that. I mean, just kind of how much are you looking forward to that last one this Saturday, and kind of what do you feel like the conversation will be during that time?
I think the walk is the least of my worries right now. I think they got a pretty good D in this bound to go second round, early second round. So that's kind of my focus right now. I'm not really focused on a walk with him. There's bigger things and bigger tasks at hand. The main thing is just to win the game and do it in a dominant fashion, do it very clean and precise. And that's what our focus is. So in these final days, wrapping up everything to get to the game, just cleaning minor things up that we see flaws, and watching old games that we play honestly, and just getting back, you know, in that taking yourself back through those situations, those times, since we had so much time off.
Shador, it's
you know, and by the way, you know, I got a lot of teammates up here too. I just said, because they wouldn't have came if it was just about me. It was pointless for them to come.
Well, on that note, it's not a question we used to ask football players, and it's almost crazy to ask a football player this question. But why are you playing in this game? Why did you make the decision to play a game that so many other guys in your situation don't necessarily do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't adjust and I don't do what other people do. I feel like that's. Even from the beginning, we went to HBCU and not every offer in the country. So it's like I don't really care what other people do, and it's about, I'll say it's about the team, and it's about everything I stand for. You know, it's about equality, and it's about just because they projected X, Y, and Z, that don't mean I can't play with my X, Y, and Zs. You get what I'm saying? I gotta play with my receivers. I gotta be able to play with the team, the O-line, everything like that, because we may not ever have a chance to play again together on the same team. So it's about cherishing the moment. It's about knowing this is the final collegiate game, and each and every game we left it all out there. So there's no regret. I don't ever want to go anywhere with regret, you know. So that's the thing. If I felt like anything negative, I wouldn't have played this year. I was going first round last year regardless anyway, so you feel me? It's no difference. I would have just went.
Let's have two more questions for Shador and let him go. You have a question for Shador? Anybody? Front question, last question for Shador?
Congratulations this year. Great season.
Definitely.
You mentioned problem solver on the field.
Mm-hmm.
In real-time situations, is it just you and Coach Shurmur? Is it you and Coach Prime, or your receivers, your teammate who's helping you make those decisions? Can you speak to that, please?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Like I say, I talk to them on the sidelines, get their perspectives. I ask them, okay. Well, I'm not gonna tell you too much what I ask them, but anyways, I get the details I need to know from their perspectives. To know how to attack the defense, to see if they're seeing what I'm seeing, so we all on the same page. Then we recap. Of course, we have our own mini conversations. Then we recap with the boss, Coach Shurmur, and then we talk about how we're gonna go moving forward. So that's what it is, the problem solving. If you could watch a team. We came out a couple games where we watched a team the whole year, and it was 4 down front, and it came out an odd. So it's like we seen everything. That's what Utah did to us early on in the game, and it kind of threw us off a little bit. But we had that challenge. We had that milestone already, so we know how to adjust. So that's why anything, I'll say pretty much everything now, we have the solution. It's just we just got to get to it early. We can't wait till we can't wait till it's too late or to after halftime to get to that point. So that's what I'm most excited for is we all know what's at stake. We all know what's on the line, and we just got to start fast and do it early on.
Thank you, Shador.
I got one more for Shador. Whoever drafts you might be interested in adding some of these guys next to you to the team. Would you mind going through and just, if that team asks you, hey, what do you think of LeJohntay, Will, Cam, or Jimmy, what would you tell them?
So for sure, LeJohntay, for sure he's going to get open. He's a threat all over the field. And it's hard. I haven't seen too many receivers get in and out the breaks how he do. And man-to-man coverage is very tough to guard him because I'm like, after some plays I ask him, I'm like, dang, bro, I didn't know you was going to get open on this. You feel me? Because it's not supposed to be there, but you still made it happen. So that's for LeJohntay for sure. Will, definitely 50-50 ball guy. And I feel like I know how to get him going. I know how to – I was going to say something, but I know – I was going to say something. But, I know how to turn that switch on for him. Whenever through good, bad, through everything, and he overcame a lot this season. So at a big stage, and you understand it's not a lot of people and not a lot of players in college football that goes through as much pressure as playing for the Colorado Buffaloes. So he dealt with pros, he dealt with the cons of everything, so he's level-headed and he understands each and every game I got to go out there and make a big impact. So definitely going to go up and get the ball, go and make plays, and I don't really call them 50-50 balls. It's kind of automatic, Cam, for sure. I don't really like going against him that much. So, but Cam, he's going to do his job, and he's Mr. Consistent. So that's probably the most consistent players we have. Everything that he does is consistent. The way he practices, the way he goes about his business, and we've been doing that since HBCU. So it's like it's no level or anything that could get to him. It's nothing, fame, lights, money, it's nothing that could get to him because we all came from that same area, that same challenges, the same journey. So we're almost the same, I say, but he's just on the defensive side of the ball. He's the quarterback of the defense. Jimmy Horn, he's definitely fast. Jimmy, I'm real disappointed right now because Jimmy was playing through a lot of injury this year. So I take that personal that he wasn't able to get the numbers and able to do what he was supposed to do because we had big plans, big everything with him and Amarion. So that kind of really hurt me, I would say, and he hasn't been able to show his best yet. So maybe it's not, the perfect time right now for him to hit his peak. Maybe it's, year 3, year 4 in the league, we on the same team for him to really maximize his full potential. But he's able to get open. He's able to, when he's healthy, he's very unstoppable, and it's tough to guard him in man coverage. So any one of them I'm excited to play with. I really hope it happens, I really hope it does. Because I know them, I know everything about them. So I'm just, who knows? I'll be excited for it, though. But I'm definitely pulling for him, though. I definitely am.
Appreciate your time, Shador.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions for the other players?
I got one for Cam. Coach Livingston a couple weeks ago was almost getting a little bit emotional talking about yourself and some of the seniors that you're going to be playing your last game this Saturday. And just wondering if you could speak to just kind of the emotions of getting to work alongside him this season and growing that bond since he got on campus last winter.
Ever since Coach Livingston got here, he just trusts me with defense. He always tell me I trust Cam with my kids. And that means a lot to me. That means a lot to everybody on the team just because Coach Livingston I don't really look at him as a DC. I kind of look at him as a teammate. It's kind of that kind of thing. He's in that ground with us every day. He's just a wonderful guy, terrific guy. I mean, honestly, he changed my life. He changed my life for the better. Just when he came in with no playbook, and he told me, what do you like to do? What do you like to see? And we went with it, and I love him for it, and I love him for it for life.
kind of building off what Shurmur said there, Jimmy, obviously you've been dealing with those injuries. How have you gotten through that? How have you been feeling in these bowl practices?
I've been feeling pretty good. The way I got through it, I go to treatment every day, you know. Just got to show up, get the treatment for my body so I can go out there and perform.
What would it mean for you to have a big performance on Saturday in your final game as a Buff?
It'll mean a lot, you know. I want everybody to have a great performance. You know, you don't want to finish your last game just wishing, shoulda, coulda, you know what I'm saying? So just want to finish off strong with a great performance.
Well, Jonte, this has a potential to be the last game you play with your brother. You know, what does that mean to you, and what kind of advice are you looking to leave him with as you move on to the NFL and he has another year in college?
I mean, playing with my little brother, man, it's amazing. It's a blessing. Going into this last one, I definitely am going to get a little emotional. But all I'm going to tell him is just keep grinding, man. Like, when your time come, I tell him all the time, like, when your time come, let them see it. Like, let them see what we be working on. Let them see what I see, you feel me? What all our family see, you know? So he just patiently waiting. So when his time comes, he going to show the world.
For each one of you, can you just talk about ending your career in a bowl game like this? And you know, for a lot of you, you went through some losing seasons where you're at before. So what does it mean to you, start from Jimmy on down, just kind of what it means to you to be in this bowl game and finish your career this way?
Man, it means a lot. It's been a journey. Shoot, this is my first bowl game since I've been in college. So I'm real excited, man. And I just want to thank all my teammates, everybody, a part of the coaching staff, the coaches. Like, it's been a real journey, man. You know, we worked real hard to get where we at. And, like, I can't thank nobody enough because, like, I won't be here without them, you know. So it's been a journey, man. And I'm just thankful and blessed for this opportunity to be in the bowl game. Like, I cherish this. Like, I'm going to go out here and play real hard. So I'm just ready.
I mean, like you said, man, I mean, everything to us. I mean, especially for me, when I came in Boulder on the 111, after the 111 team, and we had to build a lot. A lot of things ain't go our way. A lot of people hated on us, but look at us. You know, so look where we at. So it mean a lot. It mean a lot to be here. Just be here at this wonderful establishment, you know, San Antonio. It just mean a lot. You know, we always prayed to be here, be somewhere in a bowl game. You know, it's been great, man. Great.
Yeah, this is my first bowl game too, so it's really just a blessing, especially being able to be at one of the best bowl games outside of the college football playoff and get to play with everybody on this stage and everybody back at the hotel one more time.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of them, this is our first bowl game. This is my first real bowl game. I had a bowl game in the Montgomery Bowl in 2020, COVID season, but I mean, I'm just taking it all in. It's hard to get here, you know. This is our Super Bowl. We didn't make it to the college football playoffs, so this is our playoff game, and we're locked in. And just like this is our Super Bowl, so we ready.
This one for Jimmy and Cam. Both you guys being here for the last 2 years, you have the opportunity to be around some of these younger guys. Cam, Jimmy, we've seen both of you with passion speeches in front of the team. How important is it to both of you to pass down the standard that you helped reestablish? Cam, you spoke about that after the Oregon State game, that there was no standard when you got here. And now you guys take a lot of pride in being able to set that. So have you gone out of your way to maybe go to some of these younger guys and make sure that they're getting acclimated?
Yeah, of course. Because we didn't get a chance. We didn't get a chance to play for a Big 12 championship or a national championship. But we still want to see that happen here. We still want these guys to, you know what I'm saying, go do something. I talk to the newcomer freshmen, the early enrollees guys all the time, just because they're building something here. We're really building something. We are the guys that you'll remember that started this. So when they get to winning, it's like, okay, that's the time for us to come back and be like, man, we started all this for y'all. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I always think about, because I know one day it's gonna happen for us. So I just make sure I pass that standard down. It's very important. These next coming guys, these guys are like, it's a difference for me because the guys that came in December, like the early enrollees, I can just tell they're different. I can tell it's a different mentality than like when me and Jimmy were coming in January and we had guys come in, they just wasn't there, but these guys were working their butt off in practice already and only had like 2 or 3 practices. So it's going to be great, man. It's especially important to make sure you keep passing it down.
All right, we got the pep rally, so let's just do a couple more questions, please.
Can I hear Jimmy's
I'm
answer
sorry.
to that? I'm so sorry.
I was about to let him go ahead and go.
Sorry, Jimmy.
No, but to piggyback off what Cam said, you know, the coaches got the blueprint, and us players, like, we set a foundation that the younger kids that come in, and they got to build off of, you know. So, like, they come to practice every day to work, you know. Every day they working, and it's like, it's good to see younger kids that's coming in as freshmen that really want to play. Cause when I was at other program, like you could just tell, you just know like who really want it and who really don't want it. You know what I'm saying? So we just gotta, us just talking to them, just, I don't know, man. I ain't too much over talk.
Front row.
This is for all of you, specifically you, Cam. You spent a lot of time with Coach Prime and this coaching staff, and you're having a lot of success in the portal. Why do you think the coaching techniques and the experience of Coach Prime and the rest of the coaching staff is being so successful?
That's an interesting question. The biggest I think about, I can't really think of too much. It's just work. You're gonna get here, you're gonna have to work your butt off. Nothing gonna be handed to you. Any of these guys can tell you, like, when I first got here, when Jimmy first got here, when Will first got here, when Junta first got here, it was kind of like, all right, it's kind of different speed, it's kind of different. You know what I'm saying? These coaches talk a little different, they move a little different. So just the work you have to come here and put in. And it's kind of like a survival, if you like to say, man. You get here, it's like, all right, I'm trying to survive. So when you get to the season, then that's when LeJontay go for 200, Will go for 200, Jimmy go for 200. You know what I'm saying? So that's when that happens, when you get through the work. So it's all about the work when you come here.
Okay. Can we go middle? Last question, please.
I'll see you two over here. I asked BYU this. Both these teams were part of that four-way tie for the Big 12 title, but you're the two that didn't get to go to that title game. So have you guys talked about this maybe being sort of a secondary Big 12 title game?
Yeah, a little bit, man. BYU was top of the conference at one point of the season. We was top of the conference at one point in the season. So, I mean, y'all seen the Big 12 game. Yeah, it was cool, you know. So we gonna give y'all a real Big 12 show on Saturday. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, we both had to watch other games to see if we were going to get in, so I think it's kind of a personal thing for everybody, knowing that we couldn't be in that game and seeing how that game went and just kind of making this one, like someone already said up here, like make it like the Super Bowl for us.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.